Hey, check it out, it's Jan, 1/3 of MediaShinobi, and today I'm going to be reviewing episode 8 of Kabaneri of the Iron Fortress entitled The Silent Hunter. So this episode starts off right where last episode ended, where we were presented with Mumei's brother, Biba-sama, aka the Liberator. And at first glance, Biba-sama comes off as the ideal hero that the people need, but as the episode progresses and we learn more about him, not only are Ikoma and Biba-sama at odds with each other, but now they're pitted against each other. And that pretty much wraps up the gist of this episode. Overall, I thought it was a pretty good episode, definitely one of the better episodes that we've gotten as of late. Now, in terms of the positives, I definitely like the action sequence of this episode. Unlike the last couple of episodes, it's been primarily one-sided, and it's usually due to the lack of cohesion between the group and also the incompetency of pretty much all of the background characters. However, with this episode, the tables were flipped. The humans had no issues taking on the Kabanes, which was definitely refreshing to see. They actually implemented strategy. They were evaluating the situation before they even stepped onto the battlefield. And I definitely liked the tag team approach they took with Mumei and Kobori. I don't know if I pronounced her name right, but they were definitely in sync. They controlled the flow of the battle for the most part, and they took down one of the bigger Kabanes with relative ease. Another positive is that the pacing was on point with this episode. It didn't feel too fast, it didn't feel too slow. It introduced new elements without feeling too crowded, oversaturated. So I definitely liked how they did that, especially in comparison to the previous episodes, where for the most part they are dependent on one another in order to establish the overall average pacing. But if you're looking at this episode strictly by itself, pacing from the very beginning to the very end, it was done very well. Now, in terms of negatives, honestly, I don't really have any, but one thing I would like to bring up is the love-hate relationship with Mumei. They were obviously gonna pit Mumei against Ikoma because Ikoma and Biba-sama were gonna be at odds with each other due to ideology. The moment they pretty much introduced Biba-sama, that could have been seen a mile away. But in terms of how they got to that point is where things get questionable. I like the execution of how Mumei and Ikoma were kind of not seeing eye to eye. I thought the scene was done pretty well. However, if you kind of backtrack and look at the previous episodes and how they've been doing it, kind of how they got to that point almost feels contrived because they already started using the love-hate relationship plot device way early in the game. With each episode, oh, she's cool, maybe we could trust her, and then nah, we don't like her, or she's dangerous, we need to get rid of her, and then again and again. So the only difference is this episode, like I said, this would be the tipping point since we were introduced with Biba-sama. So overall, I kind of feel conflicted with it because from an execution point for the episode alone, I liked how it was done. But when you start to think how they got to that point, it kind of takes away the overall impact that unfortunately it could have had. That's pretty much all of my thoughts as of right now. In terms of theories, okay, we were presented somewhat with a backstory of Biba-sama. He mentioned that 10 years ago he was left to die when they were being attacked by the Kabanes along with his crew by the Shogun. So I'm pretty sure that was the defining moment that established that ideology of the strong survive and the weak will die that he emphasized in this episode because he fits the mold of the young and ambitious, strong sense of justice. Now, with 10 years of development with this new ideology that the strong survive and the weak die, that kind of made him ice cold. I'm pretty sure that's kind of how they're going to define his past when they go more into detail with that. So I don't necessarily see him as an evil character per se, as opposed to a new character that is similar to Ikoma, because Ikoma kind of saw things in a similar sense because he doesn't want to let fear rule him. He needs to stand up for himself. Very similar to what Biba-sama was saying. The only difference is that he has 10 years of development under his belt that kind of led him to more of an extreme point. So because of that, that's obviously why Ikoma doesn't see eye to eye with Biba-sama, even though they actually are quite similar in terms of their ideology. In regards to where the next episodes are going to go though, I'm pretty sure at some point they're going to go their separate ways. Biba-sama is going to be a recurring character obviously, so I don't think they're going to finish him off in the next couple of episodes. That would just be weird to introduce such a strong character and just kind of get rid of him. They might even do a three-way battle between Biba-sama and his group, Ikoma and his group, and then maybe the Shogun's group, which is that third party. So far it seems like they're not much of a big deal right now because the conspirators in this episode, they were easily dealt with immediately, including Biba-sama's former, I don't know if he was the right hand, I forgot, but he used to work for him and then he was just immediately killed. So there was that. So it really seems like it's just going to be primarily Biba-sama and Ikoma as of right now. They're also gonna show more as to why he kind of came to that conclusion as well. Obviously, we saw with this episode that he already has a train cart full of Kabanes. One for experimenting on humans and also on how to deal with Kabanes themselves, which is no surprise to anyone. It shouldn't be, and in this case we finally saw it. Mume was already fully aware and admitted that she asked to become a Kabane or a Kabaneri herself. And that's pretty much my updated theory. I can't provide any more simply because right now the plot is still bare minimal. There's not much going on other than they deal with the situation, then they move on. But other than that, I mean, like I said, it was a pretty good episode, but I still look forward to the next couple of episodes and see how things progress. So if you guys liked the video, go ahead and like it. Comment down in the comment section down below. I would love to hear what you guys are thinking about as of right now. Subscribe as well. We always pump out Kabaneri of the Iron Fortress reviews every Friday at 9 o'clock Pacific time. Don't forget to also check out our social media sites as well. For Tumblr, by the time this video is up, there will also be a Tumblr post available for you guys to read as well, provided by Chris. So go ahead and check that out as well. Facebook, Google+, Twitter. Go ahead and follow us on all of those social media sites to stay up to date with MediaShinobi and anything anime related. But other than that, that pretty much wraps up this review. So it's Jan 1/3 of MediaShinobi signing out.